Hello everybody. After Steph Curry went ballistic in Game 4, the Boston Celtics rolled out a more aggressive defense on Steph. This is a pretty typical Steph handing it off to Otto Porter Jr., which means Horford switches to Steph. The rest of the play is going to continue on this side, but let's just watch for a second Steph being shadowed by Al Horford. Steph is nowhere near the ball and Horford is right in his face. And then as Steph cuts baseline, Horford practically follows him out of bounds. Look how close he's trying to stay to Steph. He's trying to stay between Steph and the ball, so there's no possible way the ball can get back to Steph, and he's barely looking at the ball. It's sometimes called face guarding. The Warriors exploit this right away. This is not their first rodeo with a defense keying on Steph. Dre has the ball. Otto Porter is setting a flare screen for Klay. Boston has been switching this action all series, and it's happening again. Marcus Smart is calling to switch to Klay so that Jayson Tatum can stay with Otto Porter, but that means he's going to be on the outside of Otto Porter, so he's vulnerable to Otto Porter just back cutting him, which he does. Draymond is going to throw this little pass over, but no problem, right? Because the typical NBA defense is that the weak side low man, the player that's on the opposite side of the ball and who's closest to the basket, will rotate to cut off these kind of drives. Except Al Horford is the low man, but he's busy following Steph Curry to the bathroom here, and Steph says, I'm just going to cut out of the way here, and I'm going to drag Horford with me. So that leaves Otto Porter completely unguarded to the basket. Horford is following Steph, and he turns around and goes, oh yeah, the ball's over there. And Porter, nice layup over the contest. Draymond setting a screen for Steph. Marcus Smart is trying to deny Steph the use of the screen. He's trying to force Steph to reject the screen and go into the welcoming arms of Robert Williams. This is a pretty aggressive drop where Williams is going to sell out hard to try to run Steph off of the line. Marcus Smart recovers the flying by, so two Celtics end up jumping at Steph's shot, and now unfortunately Steph has picked up the dribble. It's a pin down for Klay. The Celtics have been switching this, so Tatum is expecting to switch to Klay, but this defender is fighting over the screen. Tatum and Brown are on Klay. Klay reads this very quickly and gets the ball to Wiggins. Robert Williams has to rotate, but Wiggins throws this incredible touch bank shot on his way up off the dribble. This play shows the cat and mouse game that has dominated the Celtics offense. Marcus Smart appears to be coming up to set a screen for Tatum, which would then in theory force Curry to switch. Curry is clearly talking to Wiggins, saying, hey, get ready for a switch here. Marcus Smart surprises everybody by flipping his screen completely this way. Steph and Wiggins communicate, and Wiggins just says, I don't have to accept your false dichotomy, and he just goes under the screen and fights through it. But after all that, Tatum ends up trying to screen Steph off of Smart, and Smart comes around, and Otto Porter gladly switches on to Smart. The Warriors just think the Celtics have loose handles. Game 2, they just started slapping and reaching and trying to disrupt their dribble at all times. Immediately, Otto Porter knocks the ball loose. Look how close up Otto Porter is playing. They don't want the Celtics to shoot any three-pointers, so they're overplaying the three to force the Celtics to drive, and then once the Celtics drive by, they stay on their hip. Help always rotates to stop the drive. Wiggins doing a nice job contesting. Robert Williams here wants his dreams to come true, waiting for this lob, but Wiggins is so close, I think he's trying to deflect any kind of lob, and Otto Porter is caught up as the trailer, and he's got an arm up trying to stop any kind of quick shot or lob, and Smart just ends up having a really tough shot to make here. Williams does have inside position, but Wiggins is contesting this enough that he doesn't get a clean putback. Draymond flies in. He was extra aggressive early, and that was great for the Warriors. Draymond wants to push the pace of play faster and faster. And so as he's coming down with this rebound, he flips the ball to Steph. Maybe he's just so happy that he's not getting face guarded and double teamed that he goes for this layup. He knows if he goes fast, he's going to force Al Horford to either guard him, and that would leave Klay open in the corner, or to cover Klay. And so finally Horford ends up cutting off the pass to Klay, and Steph takes the contact from Tatum and has a nice finish. Draymond coming over to screen off Marcus Smart. Marcus again trying to ice this by forcing Steph away from the screen. Look at how hard Smart works to keep Steph away from the screen. Now he's finally got Steph going towards the the open space where Robert Williams is waiting. This guy is really good at blocking three-point shots, so this is a lot of pressure on Steph. Steph decides to attack. Williams containing Steph. Smart trailing Steph. Reverse angle. Steph is going to hold the ball just for an extra split second to make Williams wonder if Steph is going up for the shot, so he can surprise slip this pass into the pocket. You can't see Steph in the forest here, but Steph is behind Marcus Smart and Al Horford, who are basically double teaming him without the ball. And now the ball's gone all the way to the other side. Okay, Marcus Smart is basically hugging Steph nonstop. And so Steph decides, all right, I'm just going to wander off and take Marcus Smart out of the play and leave a lot more room for the Warriors to play 4-on-4 offense here. Marcus Smart is showing his full commitment. If Steph goes to the bathroom, then Marcus Smart's going to stand between Steph and the toilet, and Robert Williams is going to be outside the stall. So that's going to be that kind of night for Steph. Back in the basketball game, the Warriors decided to play 4-on-4, which is not a bad way to play on offense because you've got so much more space. Here, Wiggins decides to just blow by. Draymond tries a Gortat screen so that Wiggins has some choices. In the end, he just takes that little elbow jumper he loves. The Warriors, for most of the game, had great energy defensively. The general scheme is to switch everything unless Steph is involved. Got a pin down or this man popping out, and when Wiggins runs into the screen, Klay freely switches over, so Tatum is still under control. So now Tatum says, I'm going to come set a screen on Steph, and then Steph has to switch to me. But Steph shimmies into the narrow little space between Smart and the screen, and he just squeaks through, so he doesn't give up the switch. Klay didn't fully trust, he was shadowing, so now he has to recover to Tatum. Again, the Warriors trying to run Boston off a three-point line, make them drive, force Boston to make a lot of passes, and to out-rotate Boston. And eventually one of those passes is going to go wrong because Boston's a little sloppy with the ball. In this play, Steph gets picked up by Brown. So finally, enough with the face guarding, right? He's not quite as annoying as Marcus Smart, but he's definitely trying to stand and prevent any kind of pass coming out to Steph. Steph doesn't have the ball and he's guarding him on the logo. Finally, he has to personally escort this ball to Steph. There's only 9 on the shot clock. Around game 3 or 4, the Warriors started doing more of these flat screens. Steph trying to turn the corner here, but Boston feels very free to aggressively trap Steph, especially when he's on the sideline. That was so slick, you can't even see it in my copy, but Steph threw this behind the back pass to Draymond there. And so now Steph has drawn 2 defenders into the corner. The Warriors have a 4-on-3. Draymond's aggression to start the game is already paying dividends because here he drove and had Marcus Smart on him, which should not be very threatening to the Celtics, but Horford ended up sinking all the way in to help on this drive, and that leaves Wiggins completely open for a 3, which he just misses. On this play, Jayson Tatum has picked up Steph, but you can see he's also following Steph really closely. Steph's body language looks a little frustrated. You can't blame him, but this warping of the defense does continue to help the Warriors in subtle ways. It's not unusual for this kind of defense to have the weak side low man here, shading here into the lane, just in case there's some kind of penetration into the lane, then the weak side low man will help. This looks like it's going to be a handoff. Robert Williams, Time Lord over here, is pointing and telling this guy, hey, get ready for a switch because you're going to get screened, but don't worry, I will switch over to Klay. Psych. Draymond fakes the handoff and he peels around. Now, if this was a normal Boston defense where you had someone on the weak side here, there'd be a rotation to meet Draymond, and that would leave Steph open for a split second, but then Marcus Smart could come over and rotate, and probably the Warriors could get a good shot out of it, but it would probably be a worse shot than an enormous dunk. So the Warriors did a good job early on punishing the Celtics for their face guarding Steph. On this play, Steph has an idea for how to punish Smart for his face guarding. He's pointing, saying, rotate the ball over to Draymond. Here's Marcus Smart looking deep into Steph's eyes, saying, you're the only one for me. And Steph says, I'm out of here. And he fakes coming to get the ball, and he tries to cut backdoor on Smart, but Smart reacts by basically grabbing him and bump and jostle Steph wherever he goes. Steph looks a little tired of it, And here is Marcus Smart smelling Steph's underarm, even though he's way in the far corner. So Steph says, all right, I'm just going to sit here in the corner and let you guys play 4-on-4 on the court again. There should be lots of space for you to drive. And Klay says, I don't mind if I do. And he goes by Tatum. Horford is trying to ignore Draymond. He's still far enough away from Klay that Klay can just go up for this elbow jumper that he likes. In the background, if you want to see the ongoing struggle of Steph to deal with all the face guarding, here is Steph cutting baseline, and here is Jayson Tatum giving him a pat on the back, saying, please baby, don't leave me. I need you so. Steph says, get off me, man. Draymond, by continuing to cut, has his man following him. So if Horford weren't here, then Draymond, in theory, would be free to cut all the way to the basket. Jayson Tatum, in principle, could rotate to stop Draymond, but you know that he's part of plan camp out in Steph's underwear, so he's not leaving Steph for love or money or Bitcoin. So when Steph leaves, Tatum is definitely leaving with him. So the net result of all of that is that Horford is going to step backwards, which doesn't really seem like a big deal. Just a defender stepping backwards. So now Horford is here. He's guarding Looney, who's here. And Looney is not a threat to shoot, but his friend Mr. Klay is, and Looney is going to set a screen. Horford has to recover that extra 4 feet to get out. Now Horford is here instead of possibly being here in Klay's face, and Klay sort of does a double take and says, all right, I don't mind if I shoot. There's still lots of twists and turns to come in this game, but this was the foundation of the Warriors' win. The 11-point lead, which would be essentially their final margin of victory. Can't help talking about one more play. In the fourth quarter, after Boston had their amazing 8 threes in a row comeback, here's Klay being guarded by Marcus Smart. And there is contact here. Klay bumps into Marcus Smart, but I don't think his arm moves enough to really be counted as a push-off. But Marcus Smart wants to emphasize this contact, which he does by not just falling to the ground like a normal human being, but he gives a little push to send himself skidding backwards. Look at that distance. And as he's sliding down court like a curling stone, he's complaining to the referee in mid-slide, hey, he pushed off. This is maybe too much dedication to the flop. I think a good flop should just end up right here so that you can get up and play and still play deep while you're flopping. But you can't walk back from this. Klay here has so much time that first he's waiting to see if the referee is going to call the foul. And then after he doesn't, he gets to line up the shot. And then he thinks about splash. All right, let's try some expert lip reading here. He's pulling some bull sheet. Oh, I'm sure Klay must be referring to Marcus Smart's well-known hobby of metalwork, where he uses sheet metal to create bulls. That must be it. Good job, Klay, hitting that huge 3 and also shouting out your colleagues' artistic hobbies. Let's do a quick celebration audit. Klay showing some serious versatility in his high fives. First of all, we've got Wiggins coming from the left side and Damian Lee coming in from the right side. Can Klay handle the two-sided high fives? Look at that. No problem at all. The simultaneous high fives with the classic open hand 5. Well done. And Steph coming over with another high five, and Klay giving also the orthodox high five. But here's the tricky part. Juan Toscano Anderson is holding up not a high 5, but a high 3. The classic OK 3. How will Klay adapt to this new twist? Look at that. That's the mark of an elite athlete. In mid-high 5, he switches to match Juan Toscano Anderson's OK3 with his own OK3, so we preserve parity. And he finishes the job with a nice high 3.